Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Network Buzz, a Lake Tech podcast. I'm Mike Trappy, your host, and here with my buddy Phil once again.
How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right, Phil.
How
are you?
We're back again. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I mean, last time you were wearing a hat, you were downright cold in this room.
It's freezing.
I'm telling about, almost dying on my driveway, slipping on ice.
Yeah. Are you all recovered?
Sometimes I feel it. Doing like a little sit-up, not going to lie, my neck will okay, so that still exists.
Okay. You're entering old man territory.
Flipping old.
Get it?
Yes. Old and uncoordinated.
We're in about 6 months of this now.
We are 6 months in to doing this, and I don't have the number of episodes we have done, and I know you've done a bunch of technical episodes as well. It's gotten some feedback, but it's time for reflection a little bit. How you feel about this whole experience?
I think it's interesting. I've learned to manicure my beard. Remember my first time I looked like Santa Claus, is all huge, so...
You're staring at your beard a lot. I don't think anybody cares about it.
Well, I never look at my mirror in the bathroom at home, but then I review our videos. I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. So I've got a personal reflection on that.
Personal reflection from our heads, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, putting the videos together for like the Wi-Fi 7 stuff, getting all the content straight for this. But I think we're doing a good job. I know.
We're trying. I have a little imposter syndrome a little bit as to we're doing this and we keep doing this and no one's told us not to do this. So, I feel like it's going pretty good.
Sure. Okay.
I'll take pretty good. I can't say awful. I don't want to do that. I want to keep positive vibe a little bit. I'll say it's going pretty good at this point.
All right.
I mean, right now, we started it. That's like the hard part. I feel like in getting the room set up, the organization's done a heck of a job. Joe and Ben and Kelly done a heck of a job of getting this whole thing set up, ready to go.
Yeah, it's great in here.
And yeah, it's awesome. It's really a cool thing that, something we've never done before, venturing into this and figuring it out as we go. And sometimes you just got to jump in with both feet, see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited about today's topics.
Yeah?
I am.
Why so, Phil?
Oh, because we get to put it true to its name. What's the name of this podcast?
We are the Network Buzz.
Sweet.
Yes, we are. So, yeah, today, like we've done, dry January is over.
Yep.
And so we're actually going to talk about a couple of beers here and kind of go through some things of, things that we've tried and why we like them and dive into that a little bit and have a little fun with that. We'll also dive into, there's a lot of events that Lake Tech has coming up here, through March, April, and May. So we'll dive into those a little bit. I know you've had experience out there at the Aruba Ambassador Symposium, Phil. We'll talk about that. And then also like the Network Buzz and talking about what our customers are feeling, what they're talking about a ton, all they're asking about lately in these few months, and just kind of dive into that a little bit so we can, have some technical aspects and help everybody that, not just talk about beers all day, which is, we enjoy that.
They probably want that more. You let us know. Leave it in the feedback.
Yeah,
what is it? Everybody points. You're supposed to point down.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. I think it's gonna
Those
be,
are the words we're supposed to say.
Looking at me, it's gonna be down.
Is that correct, Kelly?
Nope, down there.
Like and subscribe.
Down there.
No. What if we put it up? Okay, they get the picture.
All right. Well, we started off. We dove in a little bit. First beer we opened up already, and this one is one that I found from a brewery north of Columbus called Hoof-Hearted. Don't say that too fast. Hoof-Hearted down there, they do a ton of, you guessed it if you've watched this before, hazy IPAs and other things like that. This one is called Helmet Nachos. And Phil, you got a taste of it?
I did. It is actually really delicious. With something that's called Helmet Nachos. It's a little apprehensive, but it's smooth, fruity, not bitter. I'm actually a fan.
It's really good.
It's
right?
really good.
They
I was surprised.
They do some very good stuff down there. So again, Hoof-Hearted Brewing down in Marengo, Ohio. So just north. I think it's about like 25 minutes ish north of Columbus.
Did you make a dedicated trip to go get that beer?
No,
what drew you to it?
No, they had this. Where did I buy it? I forget where I bought it. It was not here. It was when we were somewhere visiting somebody, and I grabbed this. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that, and I'm like,
road trip.
They don't have that often up here in Cleveland, so grab that one.
Cool.
But very good stuff. Hazy IPA,
like
surprise, surprise from me. I need to diversify my beer.
Yeah, I brought all IPAs too. You know me. Yeah, I definitely need to diversify the palate as well. But yeah, I think so. One of mine that I think your brewery stole from my brewery is the Two-Hearted IPA. It's Two-Hearted, not Hoof-Hearted.
Why can't we have a lot of hearts?
Okay. All right, I'll go with a lot of hearts.
So corny.
I like that. I'm not going to hate on that.
No,
So I brought this one because this is a staple of mine. It's from Bell's Brewery out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, which I grew up in the suburb of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And this just happens to be one of my favorite beers. It's kind of interesting how that works out. So I had to definitely drop that name, the good old Bell's Brewery.
That's
It's
a
one of my
staple.
favorites. It's definitely a staple in my fridge, and yeah, maybe we'll crack that open a little
Yeah,
bit.
I know this guy's 8%. I think that guy's like 7%. I want to say as well, maybe 7.5, something like that. But it's a hearty American IPA. We'll dive into.
I don't go for the buzz, Mike. I only go for the network buzz, but the real buzz is just the flavor of it.
Yeah,
It's all about flavor
It's
for me.
been around for a while for a reason.
7%.
Yeah, Bell's does a lot of good stuff. I had a couple of friends that worked there for a little bit, and I feel like they could actually expand their footprint a little bit more, and they don't do a ton of experimental type of things. They stick to their staples. Kind of
I've got a few. I actually just saw like 3 new beers on the shelf from Bell's.
Oh, yeah?
They're all hearted related. I should have brought one of those.
they do. They have a
I
hazy
wanted to
hearted, of course.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yep, that's pretty new.
Yeah, they do, but they're like Great Lakes used to be. Where Great Lakes is very stuck. They not stuck. That's the wrong word to use, but they relied on their staples a ton seasonally and how they let everything out, as well as your Elliott Nesses and your Dortmunders.
Yeah,
and
for
whatnot.
sure.
Too Hard to kind of follow that
Yeah,
theme.
but they
type of
do.
model.
Great Lakes definitely experiments. I mean, Great Lakes is one of my.
Now they do.
I love to stay true to home in
Yeah.
Cleveland and surrounding areas, so. I can't knock anything Great Lakes is doing because they make delicious beers and they are often experimenting. I've had
Now they
many
do.
of their experimental beers.
Now they
But you're
definitely
right. Like Bell's has been around since '85. You know, I think Great Lakes Brewery has probably been around since '90, the late '80s, early '90s.
It was
pretty
early
sure.
90s. I'm not going to get the date right. I imagine it's like 92,
Okay, we'll go with that.
but I'm probably going to get that wrong. I don't know what it actually is. I'm just guessing right at this point. But no, that's a really good one. I'll hide this one back here. Beer number 2 for me is going to be, if you live or have any experience in Wisconsin, the Spotted Cow Farmhouse Ale, only sold in Wisconsin from the New Glarus Brewing Company. I did a quick little golf trip with some buddies up there at Sand Valley is the golf course name, and I drank this for those 4 days doing that whole thing because it's very, very good. 5.5%, easy
Okay.
drinking farmhouse ale. Usually farmhouse ales, they can escalate the ABV a little bit. But this is just being 5.5%, very drinkable, very,
All
very
right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that one a little bit.
Right on. I mean, do you like just go for the cans that look odd and you're like, let me try this?
How do you buy one?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got a couple cool wine bottles.
I'm
That's
just kidding.
true.
No, this was when I had this up there. I knew nothing about this when we did that trip a couple years ago, and I had a buddy who was going up there, and we talked about it. And he brought me back a 12-pack of Spotted Cow, and I was like,
Okay.
heck yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah, unprompted.
I like it.
That's awesome.
All right. Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Last for me is I'm sure everybody, if you don't know of Headhunter, Fatheads Brewery here in North Olmsted, where Lake Tech is headquartered out of, this is a world famous beer. It literally says on it, because it says it's true. It actually is true. 2023 World Beer Cup Gold Award winner. So you can't get better than that. This is definitely a staple in my
You a
fridge.
salesman? Yeah.
Just say, hey, we're talking about the beers. What else? I mean, I'm not the connoisseur like you are. Like, I'll crack a can. I'm
An
like, okay,
imposter
yep, it's an
connoisseur.
IPA. Yeah, so I got to read the labels and stuff, like, in order to talk intelligent about it.
It's similar palate, I think, in
Yeah.
between those two.
It is.
I mean-
they're all IPAs, right? They're all
Yeah,
similar.
Great American Beer Festival. I think that's won a gold medal out there
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. My
Mhm.
brother lives out in the Denver area, now Boulder area, but like he's done that, gone to that event. So I've followed again, beer nerd, follow these things a little bit. And when you hear about the local brewery coming back with a couple medals, that one's won a few times. I think.
Yeah. It's a delicious beer. I can't say good enough things about it. And of course, it's an IPA. Maybe on a future episode, we'll break away from the IPAs.
Not doing the IPAs. Sorry, everybody.
Uh-huh.
But you like what you like, but we need to diversify.
Good stuff. I'm ready for another. You want to crack one of those open, or you want
Yeah,
to?
we were hanging
these
out with this. So
staples.
yeah, well, Two Hearted. We talked about it. Nice.
Not super too hard.
Yeah.
Tribute to back home.
There we go. I'll let you serve it up.
Mhm.
But all good. Yeah, because we'll dive in next. I mean, we're probably done with the beer conversation at this point. We'll dive into the rest of the agenda and talking about. We got a lot of events coming up that we're going to be attending with Lake Tech, and it's that time of year. Again, I'm working a lot in higher ed, so it's budget time of year and a lot of events planned for the summer, and that's just the time that you make that plan and allocate resources accordingly. Because I know you're going on this circuit. I'm only going to one of these here coming
I
up.
am.
But you
Yeah,
got a busy
we're
few months.
definitely doing the road trip to a
Lake
bunch
Tech
of different
Road
places.
Show.
Yeah, the road show. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. First one coming up is MACL at the K-12 conference, the Michigan Association for Computer Users in Learning. It's in Detroit, Michigan, March 19th through the 21st, so just a couple weeks out here.
Yep.
Yeah, are we presenting? I assume we're
Yeah,
presenting. It's
yeah,
usually
yeah.
what we do.
Yep, yeah. I'm going to do a couple presentations there. Because we're building the relationship with the Aruba team there, in the Detroit area. Really cool guys. So I think, and I'm kind of on the fence on a couple of them, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the Wi-Fi 7 presentation. We're going to do pieces of the videos that we put together, the podcasts that we've already assembled. At least show some of the spectrum, and I'll talk to MLO and some of the major features and what it can mean for K through 12, and then we're going to go over a ClearPass overview because ClearPass can't be highlighted enough in being premier NAC services for securing your network, zero trust all the way.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we'll talk about that in one of these podcasts at some point in time too.
Yeah, we've had the SASE conversation, and talked about zero trust a little bit with John Spiegel, but holistically in talking about zero trust, internally and externally, and what all that looks like, and identifying the users.
Yeah.
There's a whole strategy there.
Well, there is. There's lots of different components to it, and NAC is a major component to the zero trust strategy. The integrations like SASE and all that, and learning from the environment on what can and can't be on the network, and positioning it and not giving you zero access if you don't qualify via policy. So, but yeah, so we're gonna definitely. I'm not gonna go probably deep level for K through 12 on that, but just
time permitting.
Yeah, time permitting.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So those are two presentations we're gonna do up there in Detroit. Should be a good time.
Yeah, that'll be the first time we hit that one. The rest of these we kind of have a history with, but that's the first time hitting Mackle and going to that area and hanging out with Matt Utendijk and that crew up there. That'll be a good time. That's what we try to do for new markets, kind of introduce ourselves and see if there's a fit.
Yeah,
and see if there's a way that we can help other customers who are looking for a high level of engineering expertise that you and Brad and Josh and everybody else within our 35 engineers here can apply.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. And then after that, getting into May, we skip April for the circuit. Give you a break, Phil. And hit Brainstorm. Brainstorm is a K-12, and there's some universities that attend, but that's mainly a K-12 conference as well. May 4th through May 6th at the Kalahari in Sandusky. They also do a Wisconsin event as well, and then they have the Ohio event. They only do a couple of these, but I mean, we used to go to, in my K-12 days, doing the Capital Conference in Columbus, and then this one really worked its way in for everybody from an IT level, because the one in Columbus was, a lot of like K-12, you'll have a lot of aspects that didn't involve IT. This one is very IT focused.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for, 5-6 years.
Yeah, at least.
At this point. And it's always really well attended, very useful. I mean, I get your opinion because I know you're going to be presenting. We've done this for a while.
Yeah.
But a lot of technical content is very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. What I like about that is we bring customers up in the presentations with us. So, what we've implemented with different customers that are in our base, right, is usually what we do. And this round, I think Brad may be presenting as well as myself. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do Wi-Fi 7 again. It is, same audience, K through 12 down here. Yeah, different market here in Ohio. So there's no reason to, spread the news on, what Wi-Fi 7 can do for us. And I think Brad may bring do a presentation with the customer on some implementations we've done, maybe a wired auth or tunnel node. I'm not too sure, what he's going to present exactly. But again, another great conference. It's right in our backyard. So.
Yeah. Well, you don't find those that are just a quick drive down the road, down 90.
Right.
But I mean, relating to the content, like Wi-Fi 7, that's what people want to hear about and don't understand as well because it's still brand new, as we've talked about already. So it's very useful. Again, educating everybody, getting everybody enabled in that way and understanding what's new and upcoming.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree.
And why I care.
Yeah.
And then last one here on the docket, we're talking about OHEC, which is the Ohio Higher Education Conference, Computer Council Conference, if I'm going to be specific. That's going to be hosted by University of Cincinnati, May 14th and May 16th down there. We'll be a diamond sponsor of that one. I know we're going to be presenting as well. We haven't quite narrowed down. We talked about personal wireless networks, which is an upcoming episode that we're going to talk about here eventually. But when we narrow down what we're going to present for that conference, and that's always a great time.
Yeah.
And university focus, can't get much more specific than that, and hanging out with all the great universities in Ohio.
Yep. Yeah. Because
public and private.
Obviously, we have a lot of relationships with a lot of the Ohio universities, so it's always a good time hanging out with all of the engineers at the same time.
Yeah. Again, being helpful and engaged with them.
Yeah.
And we'll have all sorts of social events planned, and we'll let everybody know about that as we get to that point, get a little closer. Trying to get Rheingeist. Talking about breweries.
Yes.
Rheingeist down in Cincinnati.
Yes. Very delicious.
It's a great venue.
It's the first time I ever had a wet hopped beer. It was straight off. Again, I'm not nerdy enough to know the whole process, but I just remember it was
Want me to
wet
get nerdy?
hopped. Yeah, sure. It came right off the tap there. You couldn't buy it in the store. I'll tell you, it's probably the best beer I've ever had.
Yeah, wet hop versus dry hopped. You've seen those two things. And it's a way that you apply the hops post boil when you're actually doing the 60-minute or so boil and actually creating the wort. And get real technical on how that works. That's what they call it. That's what they call it.
Okay.
It's not actually beer until it's fermented for X amount of time and actually carbonated and bottled and whatnot. But it's wort after you boil it. Home brewer stuff coming out of me right now. It was a fun era. And I had kids and all that went away, but apparently it's saving some space.
Yeah.
Up
Cool.
there.
Cool.
But yeah.
They'll be right in the backyard of OHEC. So yes.
I'd love to get to Ryan, guys.
Yeah, for sure. So there I'll be presenting, as you may be aware, we're going to do Central NAC, really central cloud off is what, there's a couple different ways we can term it right now. So cloud authentication, provisioning TLS certs down to clients through Aruba Central. So if you own Aruba Central, that is free to you. It's awesome. And then personal wireless networks, which you just referenced a minute ago. How are we going to address the randomized MAC addresses that are coming up on, the latest versions of Android and iPhone, and now we can't cache that MAC address any longer, so it's going to rotate in 2 weeks. So do we ask the users to go in their devices and shut that off and walk them through that, or do we have other onboarding mechanisms to get them on the network to remember who they are? It's going to be good presentations on that. I'm excited about that new tech.
Yeah, that's something to be planful for, because you're not aware of that or not planful for that, then that's a heck of a lot of issues trying to get devices online.
Yeah, and we will be doing a podcast specifically on that as well. So we would definitely want to put that message out there because everybody's going to be facing it. Randomized MAC addresses rotating every 2 weeks on your iPhone, your Android, and I'm sure Windows and the other operating systems are going to follow suit because it does help protect the consumer, but it also creates challenges for us as network engineers and managing the clients in your environment. We need a way to handle that.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. That's the end of the kind of the marketing events calendar. But I'll finish up with I know again, Phil, you're jet setter all over the world at this point. But you were at the Aruba Ambassador Symposium, which is very, very cool to have a vendor engineer who is ACEX certified and an Aruba ambassador on top of that, and gets to go to events like this with engineers all from the U.S. and Europe, and be able to have that experience and with Aruba, but also collaborating with fellow engineers at that point.
Yeah.
How was that whole experience?
Oh, it's always awesome. So, about 110 of us, give or take, get together every year to meet with the product line managers with Aruba and go over, where we're at with certain code trains, certain models of hardware, and where we're at with technologies. I kind of slipped a minute ago and said Cloud NAC. So Cloud NAC is, kind of what we're going to be rolling into the new version of Aruba Central. It's going to be really cool. I think that was the most exciting news that came out of that is that, as we continue to build out ClearPass and its capabilities and its integrations to be the NAC platform, that's starting to roll in the cloud platform as well. So some customers might not need the on-prem NAC appliances where they can, if they have Aruba Central already, let's go ahead and leverage what we already have and do NAC in the cloud. And that's becoming more and more robust. So I'm super excited to start playing with that. I got early access to it last week. So I'm going to start playing with it here in the upcoming weeks and just, kick the tires and, see what it's all about.
And I'm sure we'll do another conversation about that and educate everybody.
Yes.
About Cloud Cloud NAC, there's a difference.
Yeah, Cloud NAC. Actually, I got to review my notes, but it's actually a fairly long name, but I could dig it up here maybe. But
acronyms help people sometimes.
Acronyms help people. Yeah, the short name will be Cloud NAC, and I will scroll through my notes here, see if I can find it before we end the call. End the call.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Yeah, too many meetings for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the end of the marketing and other events that we've been doing and recently. And yeah, we'll get back to the beer and talk about next. We want to talk about what's new, or I shouldn't say what's new, but what in our working with customers the way that we do and what everybody's asking about. The buzz is to be continuing to work on our.
Yes. What is the buzz out there from from our customers, Mike? What are you hearing?
Well, a lot of conversation, and no one's going to be surprised about this one, is VMware and the price increase of the subscription-based licensing that they've moved to, and with the Broadcom acquisition, and just kind of what's that done.
Big one.
It's what's done to the market, and you talk to a lot of customers, whether it's a university, where I know Ornet's done a heck of a job in negotiating that to get prices down to 2 or 3 times increase. Sadly, that's the low point that we're hearing from price increase. And when it comes to the subscription-based licensing, I've heard at the enterprise and corporate level, it's almost 10 times increase in that licensing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough because a lot of customers, it varies, but a lot have been very, very reliant on their virtual network and on VMware.
Yeah.
And some are
almost
not
every
as
organization
reliant.
is.
So some are just footing the bill, unfortunately, and you're like, okay, well, we just got to figure this out. Some are saying they're sitting on their perpetual licensing that they bought whenever that they bought it. They still have access to upgrading to 8 on that, vCenter 8, and they just kind of sitting there with their perpetual licensing and say, okay, let's just kind of get through this while we figure this out.
Yeah.
Are we going forward and footing the bill because we rely on VMware so much, or are there other options out there? And so a lot of the options that we keep talking about is, of course, Hyper-V that's been around and matured. It's, one customer today said it's been around forever. I'm not sure what forever is, but I know it's been around a while where it's well supported, which is the most important thing. You're migrating is something new and trying to, uplift your entire virtual environment that way.
Yeah. I mean, the server cloud engineers are building out full enterprise Hyper-V build-outs just so we can demonstrate migration and, what Hyper-V is, so we can go on the road with that.
Josh
just so
can talk about that
knows.
all day.
Absolutely.
We've had so many conversations. I feel like I can't go a day without mentioning, having a VMware conversation, Hyper-V. I mean, people are looking at Nutanix, Proxmox, Verge.io is one I heard about. These are all, Nutanix is well known, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I know that, Proxmox people know about. Verge.io is something that's not as well known, but they're looking to replicate their experience with VMware and what that can do, and it's just hard to do at this point. I mean, you move to VMware because it's well supported and you're not footing that bill, but you might have to make some sacrifices in how the environment is configured and how it operates. But I know, Josh is working on Azure on-prem, Azure local.
Yes.
That's one he's labbing up. That I know I've talked to a couple customers, and we were in one meeting where the customer said, I'm just waiting for Microsoft to fix this. So we'll see what Josh is able to do with Azure on-prem, labbing that up and just kind of see if that fits with what customers are looking for.
Yeah.
But it's an evolving conversation left and right. And I'm learning a lot during that whole process.
You and me both. My days with servers ended with Active Directory. So as soon as things started going Azure, Entra ID, I can get in and do my thing. But I'm not as close to it as I used to be. And the world. This technology constantly evolves, and this is the world we live in. So that's why we're having this.
Why we do this.
Absolutely.
This is exactly why we do this. Where it's like, this is new. This is what's happening. What helps? I mean, there's only so many times you can have the conversation and educate. That's why we have this to get the word out a little bit and introduce things, and people do their own research, of course, and then dive into with what our experience on the front line happens to be.
Yeah.
So a lot of Hyper-V and Azure on-prem or Azure local, that option's coming forward here as we lab that out and make sure that no one's a guinea pig. No one wants to be the guinea pig, and make sure that it works.
We'll be the guinea pig.
That's how you lab it up.
Yep.
So that no one jumps in with both feet, and then that things go haywire. Don't want to be in that situation or put anybody in that situation.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's the biggest one that we work with. The other one, of course, the Juniper acquisition, Aruba's acquisition of Juniper. I know it's HPE doing it, and I get that. But I wish we all had more news on that. I know DOJ blocking that initially, and HPE and
trying
Juniper
to overturn it. Yeah,
trying to overturn that, and where that's going to go. I feel like it's put a halt to just the direction of innovation and things like that both companies want to get to it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's put a halt to it. I mean, Aruba HPE would continue to innovate through the whole thing, but as they
you're again at Ambassadors. You probably hear all this stuff.
Everything I'm hearing at Ambassadors is innovation
much
and how
they're
how they're progressing with the products. But there's there's no word yet as to if it's going to be overturned or not. Obviously, both Juniper and HPE are fighting it, and honestly, it was kind of one-sided. I won't get into the politics of it and everything,
knows?
But
we don't know anything else.
It's going to get overturned, I'm sure.
I have no idea. We're not supposed to know anything. We're all waiting like everybody else.
Right.
But we talk to a lot of people that we can, and of course, no one knows what's going to happen here. So we just go on and do what we do and support customers and introduce technologies where it fits and support them as we do.
That's right. Cool.
Name of the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what do you say? You want to wrap up this video and crack open another couple beers and
Yeah, you got to try Spotted Cow.
I'm definitely going to try it.
Yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Yep, for sure. No, this is fun. I mean, this is a little different than the experience we've been doing so far. Not as much technical conversation, but this is a lot of fun jumping in here, 6-month check-in really, and diving into what's the buzz and reflecting a little bit on what we've been doing.
Hey, let's throw it out to the audience. What do you guys want to hear about? What's on top of your mind right now? Let us maybe chime in on your thoughts.
No problem with that.
Yeah.
No problem with that.
Bringing some of our viewers, our listeners, our customers.
Yeah, I ask people all the time. I had a conversation today about, AI's presence in network security, whether it's
that'd be a fun one.
Whether it's, email and phishing emails and things like that. And I mean, network security can't be talked about enough.
Yeah.
I know we're going to have our friends at KnowBe4, security advocate who's actually a professor who teaches threat intelligence.
Okay, cool.
So, that'll be a fun conversation I have next week here coming up, and bringing an advocate on to talk about that and KnowBe4's ability to supply security awareness.
Cool. Yeah, I got a couple of customers lined up. We're definitely going to do a 10K presentation. So, Aruba's CX10000 with a Pensando chipset in there. That's going to be a good one. So we've got customer deployment, a couple customers deployed with it, but one of ours wants to come in and speak about it. So we'll probably do that maybe later down the road as we have availability. And by the way, I did find it. It's Central NAC, Aruba Networking Central NAC.
We're not going to let that go.
Nope, I wasn't.
We're going to let that go. Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. Anything else we finish up? Or
I don't think so.
We're going to have some Spotted Cow here in a minute.
Yes,
this is
Spotted
great.
Cow.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Network Buzz. Really appreciate everyone kind of joining the conversation and listening in. And please supply feedback. We're dying to know what everyone is dealing with out there. And I know we supply the content where we can, but it takes some user feedback, if you will, to get the right content out to everybody. So really appreciate everybody listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
See ya.